Hello, my name is Maurice Washington. I want to welcome everybody to another episode of Executive Talk. Those that are watching on live TV or those that are watching on social media. On social media, we prefer that you go to Facebook and also YouTube, but also please connect with us on Twitter because you'll actually get updates on our new shows and so on and so forth, but especially on Facebook and YouTube. Why is that? We want to make sure that this is an open dialogue show, that you have an opportunity to communicate things that I may have said that may confuse you. Something I've said that you agree with, something that I said that you absolutely disagree with. We want to keep this dialogue going because there's nothing worse than coming in, hearing information and feeling like you can't communicate it and get your questions answered. So make sure on Facebook and also on YouTube, you connect with us, communicate, because we will respond. No matter how old the video or how recent the video, we'll make sure that we communicate with you to not leave you hanging. But in today's show, you're in part 3 of a new series, and that series is not the money, it's the maintenance. Now, go ahead and bring you up to speed today and make it present. But what does maintenance mean to you? How does that relate to you, and how do you feel about the word maintenance? Now, you may say, it's important. You may say, yeah, I do a pretty good job maintaining everything. But how does maintenance show up in everything? How compartmentalized are you when it comes to maintenance? Are you exceptional at your house? You make sure it's all maintained, it's all clean, but then your relationships aren't maintained? Okay, are you exceptional at all your relationships, but your personal life is not maintained? You're exceptional with hanging out with everybody, but you don't take care of yourself? What is all those things when it comes to maintenance? How do you view that word? You know, when it comes to this title, it's not the money. This is our primary focus when it comes to business ownership. This is our primary focus when it comes to livelihood, is that we focus so much on the money that we forget about the maintenance, which goes into where we left off on our last show. And again, I can't apologize for where it left off because that's how it should have left off. But I want to make sure you guys understand. We left off in a very strong tone. It's a very strong tone, and that's one thing about executive talk. You want to make sure that your heart and mind is ready for what we're talking about because it is very personal. It is. I may be talking to you right now through the whole entire show, every show that you've watched. You're like, oh, that's me too. Oh, that's me too. Maurice, do you know me? No, I don't know you. I'm just delivering the message from the Lord. But these are all relevant to everybody. I'm responsible for these shows myself, so any show that I'm speaking about, there's probably a level of conviction that's happening at that moment, something I need to work on. But the way that we left off in the last show is you start to develop the habits of a user. Now, let me create a little bit of framework to get it up to this slide. Maintenance is something special. When you don't, in entrepreneurship, it's one of the most challenging things to be in a place of maintenance. How do I know? When you're a business owner, in my earlier days of business ownership, it's such a weird, empty place. Because you're taking a heavy risk. You don't have the resume, you don't have the character built, but all of a sudden you say, you know what, I want to be a business owner. And on that business ownership, you take this whole place of, well, this check comes on the 15th and also on the 30th. And then, there's a certain aspect of life that you're able to expect when your money's coming. But business ownership, you take all the risk. It's all you. So not only do you have this challenge of maybe your spiritual life is disconnected with God and you're living this life, but now all of a sudden you amplify it and you take it to a whole new level of business ownership. Now you're in this panic mode. It's an emotional emptiness that it just seems to not ever be filled. So what do? You start to develop a habit of a user. That's why you have to go back in our previous shows, because something actually does show up in this, is that there is something temporary that comes along with your character. There's this way about us that in our flesh, we do everything very temporary. You start to develop a habit. And how do I know? Let me go ahead and fast forward you to where life goes. It's got this weird spot in life. How much of your heart can you give to all these? You know, you're in your 20s or in your 30s, and all of a sudden, you got your checklist of things that you needed to accomplish. I need to get married. I need to have kids. I got a car, have a house, and all this stuff. All this stuff is going. It's going at a time frame where maybe you were employed with a company and you had an expectation of a check, and you develop a lifestyle, right? You're able to go in at 8. You're able to get off at 4. You're able to go home, spend time with the family, and it was just a system that you can maintain as a whole. Okay? But now all of a sudden you're in entrepreneurship. You're in business ownership. Now, what in this list becomes a sacrifice? I want you to think about that question. Yourself, your marriage, your kids, your employees, your clients, to your car, everything that you're supposed to maintain. How much can you give to all these? You don't realize what you got yourself into until you get into business ownership, because now life has shifted. Because business ownership, as you know, you have this, it consumes you. There's a consumption of you that goes into business ownership because you have to be on. There's a certain process of being on. Yeah, you can get home and decompress, but guess what? If I go home and I'm tired, had a long day, I go home and decompress. Oh, Lord have mercy. Ooh, these clients, right? Everybody's getting on your nerves. You just can't wait to get home. But then all of a sudden, hey, daddy, let's play. You're like, are you kidding me? Do you know what kind of day I have? You just need to go on somewhere. Okay? Your wife's, hey, let's hang out. Let's watch a movie. What type of movie do you want to watch? I came home from a movie. Do you know about my day? And you want to spend time watching a movie that I don't care about. I mean, what's wrong with you? Right? What's going on with your tone? Okay? Well, let's talk about even your car. Oh, you know what? I'll get a brand new, just top of the line car, because that way I can just run. I don't have time to go get all this stuff. So that's what happens when you buy that's one of the things people look for in buying the most expensive car is I don't have to maintain it. It really kind of just runs by itself. It's not anything you plan, but it's just part of the system of your lifestyle that you're starting to see. I can't be sitting up in the dealership without a car and doing all this. So you've changed. Whether you believe it or not, your life has changed. You have changed. Your character is showing up completely different than what you started when you got all these things. How about to your employees? Do you come off a little rough, a little tired? I don't have time to talk to you anymore. But guess what? When you hired them, you had plenty of time to talk to them. And when you trained them, you had plenty of time to talk to them, didn't you? But now all of a sudden you don't have time anymore? This is what people start to feel. This is all you can do. And you start to develop habits of a user. Now, this is the next phase, a compartmentalized heart. Now, the joke is on earth that only guys are like this. Absolutely incorrect. I'm going to address that today, right now. Absolutely incorrect. If you want to YouTube, if you want to comment on that, please do. This is a dysfunction of mankind, of man and women. Because guess what? When your heart is trapped, the only thing that you can do is you start to develop a compartmentalized heart. When your life is overconsumed, you don't find too many people too honest to say, I've consumed too much. I don't know how to use time. This right now, this resume that I have currently in my life is way too much. No, they say, you know what? I got this. That's a statement on earth now. 2020 and beyond. I'm sure this happened a little bit before 2020. But guess what? The new statement is, oh, I got this. you have what? Think about that. But this compartmentalized heart becomes an offer that you're offering on the table. Okay, this is a new phase of operating from the flesh, and this is what the enemy expects for you to operate in. Once you operate in selfish ambition, you are operating in a compartmentalized heart, in a compartmentalized state of being, because you're trying to consume all this. Now, what is the definition of compartmentalization? Now, it's a subconscious psychological defense mechanism to avoid cognitive dissonance or the mental discomfort and anxiety caused by, this is where you jump in, come on in, caused by a person's having conflicting values. Now stop right there. Conflicting values. Man, you know, I need to be a business ownership. I need to make a whole bunch of money, but I have all these things. You just pit your business versus your what you're supposed to maintain. Conflicting values, cognitives, emotions, beliefs within themselves. Compartmentalization allows these look, there's an allowance right here. These conflicting ideas to coexist by inhibiting direct or explicit acknowledgement and interaction between separate compartmentalized self-states. Now, that goes into a definition like blah, 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 blah. I get it. However, take out the pieces here. Conflicting values, ideas to coexist. Okay? You're allowing these things because selfish ambition has no boundaries. It does not. You're going to keep on running this process, and that's where you come to this place of being a user. So that's why I want to provide context for this to make sure your heart is receiving this correctly. But everybody does this in some way, shape, or form when you're operating in the flesh. You might be doing it to your husband or wife right now. Okay? This could be happening. You could be doing this to your employees. This could be happening right now. We're actually addressing an issue, an argument that you had in the house this morning. It could have happened, but this is what they feel. They don't know what to say, but guess what? This is the issue. Now, how does selfish ambition look at these? All these things that are important to you. All these things that God is actually looking at and judging as well and looking at your lifestyle, okay? He knows all things. But selfish ambition looks at these saying to yourself, that's where you get to that non-consistency. Okay? Because selfish ambition will not allow yourself to be consistent. Only consistent in a specific area of your life that you value the most. And that will funnel into, that's where you don't work out. You don't stay consistent with that. There is selfish ambition will say, you know what, I'm fine, I'm young. Are you kidding me? What does youth and the physical aspect have anything to do with anything? There's a collision course that you're allowing yourself to do. You're taking for granted. The marriage, oh, you know what, they love me. I gave her a kiss this morning. I gave him a kiss this morning. Yeah. Of course, this husband and wife, man, that's what we do. We're kind, we're fine. All right, when something else gets into your household, what happened? Selfish ambition can't pay attention to the details. That wasn't enough. Your kids, just hanging out with them on the weekend or for a couple hours in the evening thinking, oh, we have a great life. Watch when they get older. Then you'll know what happened earlier in the years when they get older. That would actually answer everything you need to know. Okay, your employees, your clients, let's get into that as well. And let's think about this. Selfish ambition says, who will receive my maintenance? Habits of a user start to develop. Because you can't do all this. That's that compartmentalized. That means your mind and your heart and everything, and you're looking at time. You start to look at the clock. Dadgum. Let's say there's a clock right here so you guys don't think I'm looking off into space. Work with me, all right? I'm acting out. Shoot. I got an appointment at 9 o'clock, and I have an appointment at 1, but then in between that appointment, I have to make sure that but he needs time, she needs time, so, okay, I'll hang out and eat real quick, and then, right? Do you see what's going on with me? I just negotiated how I'm going to spend time with my significant other. Well, then if I get done early, maybe that client will cancel at 3 o'clock. Then I can go pick up the kids. I can feed them lunch, go spend some time with them, and I can get back to work at 5:30. And they'll just go to bed early. I'll just give them some, I'll give them some cough syrup because they're sick, right? All these things. Now that sounds funny, but let's not pretend these things have not happened. Okay, this is how selfish ambition starts to look at a day. It's all compartmentalized on how you're going to do it. It's too much. You're trying to consume, but it doesn't matter. You start to develop this. And this is how the temporary heart and mindset starts to develop. This is where it comes from. This is that low maintenance, low hanging fruit lifestyle. Very temporary. Okay, you'll think 2 hours, because 2 hours to you with time and maintenance means you feel like, do you realize what I should have done? I could have been doing with that 2 hours? And all of a sudden you say I didn't spend enough time? Woo, Lord have mercy, you got to be kidding me. You have to be. Because that 2 hours, I have a client appointment at 8 o'clock. I'm hanging out with you, and you're arguing? Oh. Ooh, watch. Don't do it again. That's where this goes. That's how you feel as an entrepreneur. Matthew 6:21. Without even reading the scripture, you know this scripture. You know this just like in the back of your palm. But for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So what you're actually doing in this place of your maintenance is going to be where the heart is. So you want to find out why you're not able to spend time or what's going on with somebody? Take a step back. And this is you having an issue with somebody else. Take a step back. And I literally mean take a step back. Break up with yourself for a moment and say, look at the actions. Where do they spend most of their time? Because that's where their heart is, and that's where their maintenance is. That's where they're paying attention to details that you feel like you should be getting. There is something going on there. Find out where a person's heart is. And for entrepreneurship, one thing that the enemy consumes you with is the amount of time it takes to actually be in entrepreneurship. Because there's that time frame when you have a deal, but then depending on your business, you're out of business. You may be not in business until you find your next client. So you're always searching, smiling, searching, and that becomes a rhythm. But then that's where your heart starts to stay. That's where you start to maintain that rhythm. And everybody else comes secondary. Now, how does maintenance show up in the office space? Say there's 9 people here? 9 people in your office space. Now, you're looking at this like, wow, we got an opportunity to go close a lot of business and go far. These are the 9 people that are going to help me get there, and we'll all get there together. We're a family, we're close, blah, 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 blah. But this is people that you don't know. You hired them, but you still don't know them. I don't know that Sue over here, has a tendency to job hop. So she comes with the level of maintenance that you're not aware of. You're like, why can't you sit still, Sue? I mean, what's going on? Okay? Something happens because these are all nine people up here, are all new people that you need to maintain. Because they all have different needs. Yes, there's a consumption of is for one business, but they all have different needs as far as maintenance. They need time with you. They could have been here for a year and say, where am I really going in this business? Guess what? That's a maintenance call. If you don't answer that call for Sue over here, guess what? She might say, I'm dissatisfied. I need to look for something else that makes me satisfied. Where she could be just as happy, but because you lost sight of Sue, she's starting to look elsewhere. So I'm talking about maintenance. So to make this easier on me as a business owner, I don't know why you're tripping. I don't know why you're tripping, but you two over here, you guys are making us a lot of money. You guys are my rock stars. Hey, you two, come here. Yeah, come on. They'll be all right. They're our top producers. We're going to make sure we lead the way. You got to sell them. You start selling your other people, right? Because guess what? These two are the ones that you can pay closer to because they're your money makers. They're getting you closer to your selfish ambition, so you're seeing the trail. You're like, oh, these are two great decisions. These are my eggs. I will not lose them. Everybody else support them. See, you shifted that. Now, is that a good thing? Let's find out. You just opened the door for the enemy. Before, you told me that this was a family, that all of us are doing this together. But your selfish ambition said, let me bring these two outside the field and bring them closer to me because they're getting closer to the money and we'll be all right, right? You're still negotiating. Now the enemy saw it as, because people take it as, who are they? Oh, you think because they sold a lot, they put in more work than I do? Oh, remember, Sue's on the brink over here. Okay, so the enemy loves it. He's like, ooh, look at this office space that you created. And I know Sue. She's been disobedient for quite some time, so I know how to get her, and I know how to get everybody else. So thank you very much. And you led the enemy. You opened the door. Okay, so James 4:1-2 says, what causes quarrels and what causes fights among you? Now think about it. Are there quarrels and fights at your office and at your business? Absolutely. At your home? Absolutely. Okay, is it not this, that your passions are at war within you? Your passion, your selfish ambitions. You desire and you do not have, so you murder. See, the fact that you brought these two out in front of me, and I didn't really understand why, there was a murder that happened. You made me feel my self-worth got hit on the table. Because I'm starting to get a little jealous. I feel like I worked just as hard, but you brought those two. And if you don't maintain that and help me understand and help me even get there, guess what? I'm jealous now. There's a murder that just happened. You covet and you cannot obtain, so you fight and quarrel. You do not have because you do not ask. So this becomes your lifestyle. This is how you know the enemy is somewhere in your environment. You end up putting out fires all day that you created. You're talking about, oh, this office space is just crazy. Nobody understands. You created this. Because of the lack of maintenance, you started creating, you allow the enemy to come in and quarrels are among you. Jealousy, envy, selfish ambition, all the actions of the flesh are now inside your office. Favoritism and division now have access to your office. Do you know how disturbing that is? The fact that you just showed favoritism to these. Oh, they can come in a little bit later. They were coming in at 10. You guys need to get here at 8. I'll get there at 8 today, but tomorrow I'm into a new office. How about that? Right? That's what your employees are doing. That's how they felt about your presentation based on the lack of maintenance. You're like, and part of the presentation is, are you kidding me? You got a great lifestyle here. You're making good money. I mean, I know you just purchased a car because you posted it on Facebook, so why are you upset? Negotiations. All your relationships are now deals and negotiation. There's no substance in the office. And wherever there's no substance, that means that there's death. Death exists. Same way in the garden. Okay, that tree of life, the tree of knowledge of life and death, your office has to partaken of that tree. It's in your office. When death has its opportunity to reside in your life, no matter what, no matter your marriage, no matter your kids, no matter what, it will grow weeds. It will grow things that will make sure that everybody experiences death, where you have quarrels and everything of that among you. That's all death. That's what that looks like. And it is because of a maintenance issue. It's a big deal. Temporary is now the office space. How do I know it? What does that look like? And you hit it right on the nose, a revolving door. You're always hiring and firing. Now, it is true, not everybody's going to be there forever. That may have been a season. But you need to take a step back and ask yourself, how much maintenance do I really do with relationships? How much time am I really spending? If you're not spending a lot of time, that revolving door means something different. That revolving door means you always have to constantly rehire for the same position. It's costly emotionally because you stop trusting people. You think, oh, everybody's unappreciative. That's how you look at this. You're like, okay, fine. I'll just pay people, a little bit and, they're going to leave anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And so this is what you start to see. But you don't want to take responsibility. In selfish ambition, the enemy will not allow you to take responsibility for what you created. He'll just get to make sure that you stay in that place and that you don't see it. He'll make sure that you see it as their fault instead of you. That's the enemy's character, and that's the enemy's character that he'll develop in you. Now, I'm not the enemy. It's the character that you exude. You're going to either exude the character of God or you're going to exude the character of the enemy. Okay? So please don't tell me God doesn't exist. Please don't tell me the enemy doesn't exist. Don't do that. Now we're here in executive talk. Because everybody has experienced somebody with bad character. It leaves its trail. Somebody has experienced people with good character. It leaves its trail. So now, again, these are our social media. Please connect with us. Please communicate with us. Hope this show hit the mark. Because this show really, as you can tell, the passion, it really hit me. But we still have more. We have next week, so please join us. But in the meantime, I actually have to get back to work. See you next time.